Keenan of Boxing Bants. I'm here in the Coliseum Gym in Ballyfermot. Today I'm with Owen Duffy, light middleweight, as I'd say, and Owen, obviously you're here now after transferring over from the Celtic Warriors. Number one, how's it going? And number two, what was it that made you kind of switch over?
Well, look, it was quite clearly that after my last loss against Eddie Tracy, it was a great win for Eddie. It was quite clear there was a few things I needed to address, and one of them being I needed to find myself a full-time coach. So this is where the opportunity with Pete came along. I jumped at it with both hands. I've been here now since December, and Pete's dedication, his knowledge of the game is just top class. I'm delighted that I'm based here full-time now.
In terms of boxing, so like a lot of lads and women involved in the sport in Ireland, they're working and they're boxing at the side. Are you in this full time at the moment, or how are you surviving at the moment in the sport?
Yeah, I was working there as a PT in my first year, and then after my first year I got an opportunity to train full time. I think if you really want to progress in this game and go to the very, very top, you have to. It's all well and good training 2-3 times a day, but you need to focus on your recovery just as much. Your foods, what you're eating, your quality of sleep, your recovery sessions in between. And just between that, training here, you're training full time as a pro. You can't work full time. It's just not sustainable. And I noticed that after year one, and I was fortunate enough to find myself a sponsor that's kind of helping along with training full time.
Yeah. So, am I right in saying Packy Collins before would have he been managing you before, or who was your manager before, and who's managing you now in terms of getting you fights?
No, it was Packy's gym that I was training Celtic Warrior, but I was never Packy's boxer.
Okay.
Look, Packy's a busy man, with Spike and Craig and the boys. He helped me out as much as he could. It was Barry O'Mara that was helping me full time. No, not full time, sorry. Barry's helping me out as much as he could, and then he got a new job opportunity which had him all around the country at the time. So that was where, it's no one's fault from my own, but for taking fights last year without a full time coach, the likes of Barry, Packy and all them were pushing at me that they were readdressing that I had no full time coach, that it's a thing that I need to start looking into, so I was kind of leaving it on the long finger. I was like, I'll do it after this fight, but after that last loss, it was a bit of a kick in the balls, and it really made me it was probably a good thing in a way. It really made me get my finger out and readdress and fix the things that were wrong.
And is Barry still like your manager now? Was he the one that get you your fight?
No. So my old boxing coach from back in the amateur days, Frick McMahon from Carrickmacross. He's down as my manager now, right, so okay. He's helping me at the minute. Pete's my coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
People do get mixed up.
Yeah. Well, some people do both, I suppose. You look at O'Rourke's gym, kind of Stephen kind of manager man coaches, and then Packy can sometimes be the person who's getting people fights as well. But in terms of your fight with Eddie, since then, what do you think going into the fight you would have done differently?
If I had fought Eddie again?
Yeah, when you look back at the fight again,
Look, I've actually, the video's still on my page on Facebook. It's quite embarrassing to watch on my behalf. But I'm just quite stubborn. But I've watched it loads and loads and loads of times, and it's so boxing is literally just mastering the basics. Literally your footwork, your 1-2s, bring your jab back to your face after your jab, moving off, slipping the head after each punch, constantly moving, feinting shots. I was doing none of that in that fight. So it's like, so this is just a prime example of not having a full-time coach. So let's say for example I'm hitting the bag, so I'm training 2-3 times a day, 6 days a week, getting ready for that fight, and I was there's no issue with me training. I'll train 4 times a day if I have to, if that means that it's going to help me that 1%. So if you're jabbing that bag, but you're jabbing the bag and you're hitting the jab perfect, but you're not bringing it back to your face, you know. But you're training that 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week, for a whole training camp. You know, you're training a bad habit, which becomes a bad habit. And like in that fight, you know, great shot by Eddie. He fainted the shoulder roll. He fainted the backhand. He just came with that left hook. But sure, my hand was down. He just caught me clean. And like, I was surprised I got up. It was a great shot. But look, there was no recovering from it. You know.
Well, obviously now I have to ask you.
Down the bomb.
So after Celtic Clash 10, I interviewed Dom, and you obviously did see it.
Yeah.
So Dominic was calling out Graham McCormick and yourself for the Celtic title, which was held at the time, and it's looking at the moment like Paddy Gal will be vacating it and it'll be open. Now I know you're coming off a loss, and once you get the win, you'd be right back in the mix. Yeah, but what do you think of the call out? The things he said, etc., etc.
You're mad to ask you this question.
Well, don't I?
Yeah. You know what? Look, I'm not like the call out was no surprise to me. Like he's called me out in a couple of your interviews already since his debut, but
and local Calvin man.
Yeah. So like, you know, but what he said is what surprised me. You know, him saying like, you know, it was hilarious. It was a funny call out, but I was a bit surprised by him saying that, you know, that we're enemies, or you know, that kind of down that line. You know, it was only 2 months ago me and him would have went to the same amateur club. It was only 2 months ago he was offering me hand wraps when I forgot mine at training, you know. And then like since the beginning of his career, he's just been saying, from the very first interview done with you, he was saying that there was no bad blood, that he wishes me all the best. And now it's the tables have turned. All of a sudden, it's like, let's just say we're not friends. You know, I don't know what the possible reason of him doing that. Maybe it's to sell a fight, or you know, I don't know. Like, I know we fought in the amateurs once before. Maybe that's the reason. But I don't know.
Yeah. And like, would you be entertained that like there's a big pool now in Ireland, light heavy? There's you, there's Eddie, there's Graham, there's Dominic.
Man of the North. What's his name?
Well, yeah, Owen wants to get down to welterweight, but he said he'd be open to fighting for a belt at light. But there's loads there. Would that be something you'd be looking to do now, fight for a title against any of them? Or is there any in particular person you'd like to fight, or would Dominic be?
No, like you know, so like you said, I'm just after coming off a loss, so you know, there's the likes of Dom, who's 5-0, Graham who's 5-0, Eddie Tracy, who's had a domestic and won. You know, they're all that step in front of me of getting title shots. So like, you know, I'm just focusing on my next fight. I'm focusing on me, and I'm improving every day. Just focusing on my next fight, and look, I'm not looking past that next fight. Get through this one first, and then we'll focus on that afterwards.
Yeah. Your next fight, are you looking to get on that show in Waterford?
The Waterford show.
Waterford show, the Power show.
Waterford show, yeah.
Not Watford, no.
I thought you said Watford. My manager Frick and Pete are working on a possibility of a fight a month before that. So we're aiming. There's a couple of talks of different shows. So just stay quiet until confirmation. If not, well, we'll see. You know.
I imagine that show you're thinking of going to beforehand, would it be an English show?
Yeah. Probably London based. There's talks of one in Manchester, 2 in York Hall, so hopefully get near one of them soon, get announcing it soon. Get back out there, it's been a while.
Yeah. Is your goal ultimately at the moment, like, is it to be Celtic champion and Irish champion? Would you say that's at the moment your goal over the next year and a half?
Yeah, like look, I've got personal bigger goals than Irish champion, but you know, for my last fight I need to step by step, you know, but year and a half Irish champion, that's the goal.
Right, well, Owen, it's been nice meeting you and getting to know you.
Thanks a million.
So thanks very much for your time. Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.